So in this video, I'm gonna break down for you where to have your feet, how to stand correctly for defense and offense, and where to have your hands. So the first thing we're gonna look at feet, right? So what I don't wanna be doing with my front leg is facing my toes forward, all right? I wanna be facing my toes a little bit out and sort of like pushing my knee outwards at a 45-degree angle here. The reason being, if I have my foot like this and I try and block, number one, the foot might slap over and still hit the meat, which is my leg, yeah? Or they might kick me over to that side and then look, they've got a free shot to my back. I can't see any oncoming shots after it, right? A strong block is always a little bit out to an angle. For me, I like to lift my toes. It helps me engage my hips. It helps me keep my leg nice and strong in a locked position like this. And I don't really block with my toes down. Some people do, but for me, I find it better this way, okay? So front leg facing out a little bit, knee pointing outwards in case I've got a lift and they're gonna block. They might also just hit the knee. If I can't get that block up high enough, they'll just hit my knee and it will still hurt them, all right? So that's the first thing. Knee out to the side, toes a little bit out to the side, keeping my hips open. My back leg, I like to have my heel off the floor. Again, some people, I've seen them with their heel on the floor, they like this. They like to do that, they think it's the best. I personally don't. The reason being is because if I want to spring into my kick, number one, I need tension, and number two, I need my hip in. With a flat foot, I often drop my hip back a little bit like this. With this, I'm pushing my knee slightly over my toes, so I'm gonna engage my hip. So if I wanna kick from here, my hip is already engaged, and I've already got tension in my back leg, so I can fire it off. That's the reason I like to have my heel off the floor. Again, with the knee placement, you are pointing outwards a little bit, okay? My block comes up this way, both my blocks, okay? It doesn't come up this or this. The reason being why we don't block like this is because if they fake it and come down the middle, I can't do anything about it. If I block here, I can do things about things coming down the middle. Okay, so that's the feet placement. And remember, always keeping your hips in here. Don't drag your hips out, right? Really get used to pushing your hips in. So that's your feet. With your hands, I like to have my right hand connected nice and tight to my head. I've been caught so many times with people baiting me off the jab and then throwing a left hook. Now, even when I punch, I'm right here, I'm connected. If you cannot feel it, it's not there. When you're thinking, shit, I'm getting hit with punches, the first thing you want to think of is, are my hands connected to my head? Number one thing. If you can't feel it rubbing on your face, don't just think there might be a gap there. So I'm better to connect it. And your peripheral this side, it's much harder to see. Whereas sort of an overhand this way, I can see it a little bit more. So it's a little bit easier to block if a shot does come round. That short left hook that a lot of people have, it can really fit into this gap. So even though my hand's connected to my eyebrow here, this gap here is enough for a glove to get in and hit me. Whether they follow up or whether that shot hits me and I don't see it, a lot of the times when we get hit with shots we don't see, they're the ones that sort of put you down or put you out or rock you. Left hand position now. So what I want to do with my left hand is I like to keep my hand a little bit further away from my head. This being, I want to jab a lot, I want to feint a lot, I want to use it a lot more than my right, so I keep it a little bit away from my head. Again, this is preference, this is what I like to do. I like to do it because I'm going to jab, I'm going to feint sometimes, you know, I'm going to try and sell things from there. Having my hands here and trying to sell things doesn't really work. But if I'm here, I can sell a lot more. I can show the person that I'm trying to do something and move with my whole body. Whereas having my hand here, if I'm trying to sell something, it just doesn't work for me. All right? The second thing being, having my hand here, if I want to block or anything coming over here, it's much easier for me to just lift my arm. If they feint something down the middle and I go to block it with my lead arm and then they go over the top, I can just move my arm over and I can create sort of an L shape and block with my hand here. Whereas this side, it leaves the body too much open for me. And obviously your liver's here and whatever else, so getting hit here, it's much more painful for me than getting anything hit here. So again, running through it. Feet always at a 45-degree angle to make sure I can block that low kick, okay? Back leg, heel raised. Again, knee over the toes slightly, so I'm engaging my hips, I'm making sure there's tension in my leg and my foot. So if I want to lift from here, I already have the tension in the back leg ready to go. I don't have to engage and throw, okay? Feet wide. You always want to make sure there's a gap in between your feet. I never want to see people like this. You cannot defend or attack from here. Always make sure you've got that space in between your feet, all right? Backhand is connected to my head. So to prevent any of them fakes and then the left hooks coming around the side, I want to be able to block them cleanly. And then the left hand, I want it a little bit in front of my face, just above my eye level, so I can play off the jab and I can feint correctly, all right? But also with your left arm, something that I forgot is that you want to be able to bring the shoulder high in case as well. A lot of people, they will go jab, jab, then they will kick high. When people are doing this, I like to lift my shoulder here. So if my left hand does drop and they do kick, I can sort of like lift the shoulder and the kick will hopefully go back. I will still obviously lean out of it, but yeah, I can block correctly. I can block correctly if my hand is down, like from here, you know? So as I lean, I lift that shoulder, all right? So working through your stance and where your hands and feet should be, I hope that helped you. And yeah, let's get into the movement. So now what I'm gonna go through is how to use the floor to your advantage to make sure your footwork is good, all right? A lot of the times when we're in the gym, there is either these mats here, which are jigsaw mats, or there is other jiu-jitsu mats, a little bit softer, but there's always gonna be like a line or something you can follow to make sure that your footwork is good, okay? I'm gonna use the jigsaw mats. It's a nice straight line down here. All I'm gonna do is make sure my footwork is correct, right? Making sure that I've got an open space in the middle of my feet and my feet are not crossing, yeah? Having something which is a guide is really gonna help you when you're moving forward and backwards and you're just practicing. Yeah, always have a guide to go off or use something on the floor, okay? So all I'm gonna do is here, and there's no problem with looking at your feet, all right? When you're practicing this, remember, you're not getting hit at this time, nothing like this. So this is, you can look down at your feet and make sure they're correct. We're trying to make this automatic so you don't do it. Even me sometimes now, I still cross my feet sometimes, but I know I'm vulnerable to getting hit when my feet are crossed because I have no way of defending, or my defense is too slow. So all I'm gonna do from here is walk forward, and back, okay? Nice and easy. Now, if I want to step side, okay, laterally, all I want to do is make sure that the side I'm going, my left foot's stepping and my right foot's stepping. So I'm coming out of that line, so I'm here, all right? If I want to go right, I'm stepping, that foot is coming over the line and back, okay? So you can do like 2 steps forward, 2 steps side, then come back to your line, then go back. All right, super easy way to use the floor to make sure that your feet are not crossing. Whether you want to switch stances even, it still works really well. You can work from this side here, I step, okay, no problem, I step. Yeah, but I'm always using that guide to make sure my feet's good. Angling, again, use the floor, okay? I could start over here and I could make sure my foot is across this side. I'm using the angle of the floor, okay? The lines, I'm making sure there, and I'm stepping horizontally. A lot of people, they will step like this, okay? This is why the floor is so good and these lines are so good to use. Okay, so I'm here, I want to step horizontally, I want to make sure I'm going into that space, and I'm crossing that line in the floor, and then I'm stepping across and facing this way. Yeah? You always want to imagine there's someone in front of you. So if the person is in front of me here, I want to angle them. I don't want to step into them. All right? So again, I'm here, I'm using the floor, I'm looking at the angle, I want to step here. Okay, great, boom. There, and again. All right? I can even use the floor, the horizontal line running through to make sure that my feet are angled when I go across. So I go here, pop. And again, I've got something running through my legs, so I make sure I'm in position to block or anything like that. So that's your basic footwork, how to stand, how to keep your hands, and using the floor to make your angles and things like that. And I think this is the perfect way to do your footwork. Use the floor, use the lines, make your angles, and make sure your feet are apart at all times and your hand positioning is good.